All right, so today I'm going to make a to mount on the back of the roll cage of my 2011 RZR 800. I picked up about a 3-foot piece of C-channel, cut that in half to about 18 inches because the distance between the top roll bar or the top bar and the bottom bar on the back of the roll cage over the cargo bed it's about 17 and a half, 18-inch span from center to center. So cut that 3-footer in half. I'll modify it a little bit shorter as needed when the time comes. I've also got some 3/8 rebar here. I'm going to cut 6 pieces of that. Initially I was thinking 4 pieces, but I cut 6 because I have another possibility in mind, and I'll make that decision here at the end if I want to do that or not. I think a 1/2 inch would be a little better. This is what I got laying around, but that's the plan, and then we'll show you how we do that. I ground these reliefs on both ends of these for that to sit against the roll bar cage, or the roll cage bar, just clearance so it's flat up against there. So I was gonna put all 6 of these in a vise and heat them up with the torch and bend it around a piece of pipe. But I found this kind of a cheapy tubing bender, gave it a shot on one of the pieces, and it actually bent it pretty good, like I would like it to, without even applying any heat. You know, that's not the exact final product that I want. I did this on a piece of scrap. I want to change the lengths a little bit, but basically just making kind of a J out of it, and I'll demonstrate that here for you. So obviously this it's not to demonstrate the tool so much, because, you know, to be honest with you, I don't know that it's going to hold up beyond my building of this one. If I wanted to produce a bunch of these, I think I'd get something a little more heavy duty, but you just kind of creep around it, start out gradually, and you just kind of walk it around. I really didn't think it would. Rebar is pretty tough. It usually doesn't bend so dang easy, but again, this is only 3/8, and it's just what I had handy. I kind of am thinking I would rather have a 1/2 inch. Ta-da! So that's one of them. And I'll make 5 more. I have this tool set up so that as I feed this down in, it butts up against the vise as a stop. So they're all going to be, you know, relatively close. It's not that critical to me. It'll look nicer in the final product, obviously, but the last one. One thing about using the 3/8 versus the 1/2 inch is I don't think I could do this with 1/2 inch. I think it would just destroy this tool, and possibly, I don't know, rebar sometimes can be fragile when you try to bend it aggressively too quickly. So that's that step. So that's the way I did it, but you can certainly bend these in any other fashion that you see fit. And I made 6 because I'm thinking I intended and intend to put, you know, a double rack on the outside, on the cargo side of the outside of the cage, and then I thought, if allowable, I may put a 3rd one in between those 2 on the inside of the cage. I'm just not sure how that'll set. You know, I'm going to do the 2 first, and if the 3rd one works, so I'll pop it on there on the other side, weld it on before I paint everything up. All right, so I have pretty limited welding experience. So if you make these yourselves, if you're not a welder, you know, you might start getting into some expense. I got a buddy up the street that just did these for me real quick, but anyway, so these are welded. You just put 3 beads on there real quick for me. Again, it's just rebar and some C-channel. And you'll notice that, you know, one, I made them kind of high, you know, just so it'll sit nice in there and you're bouncing around. If any type of tie down you choose to put on there, bungee cord, whatever, if something fails, you know, you got a deep pocket for your rifle or whatever other equipment you might be hauling in there, and chances of it bouncing out are much less likely. I am also going to put some sort of rubber tubing or something on here to protect that. Now, I made this considerably wider than a typical gun rack would be. That's to accommodate a rifle in a case. And you'll also notice that this one is flared at the top, where this is kind of more of a perfect U shape. Barrel end, stock end, in a case. And that was kind of the thought process. So I'm gonna prime these, clean them up a little bit first, and then I'll spray them, prime them, and then paint them, and then we'll go from there. We'll mount them and see how they look. And a quick prime and paint. All right, final product installed. So there's a bolt here, and then you saw the rack laying on the ground. It's got a piece of rebar. I got a piece of, I don't know why you can see this. I was really having a hard time getting in the frame, the rack, without a bunch of background stuff interfering with the view, but I got this dishwasher drain hose. It has a 5/8 ID, and I basically made a slit here. So the slit would come down to, I don't know if you can see it in this, but there's a slit to there, and then this is solid. Ran it down on there a little above the end of the rebar, and then, you know, split all the way up, and then just kind of split it around that. So then you got, you know, root, or you have cushion all the way metal, anywhere that your rifle or any other gear that you would be putting in here, you know, it's got some padding. You know, we'll see how well this holds up. It's kind of an interior use dishwater situation, so it might not hold up to the sun. I'm actually in Arizona currently, and pretty sunny and pretty warm lately and nice. So I might put a zip tie up there. It's really held on pretty well so far, you know, and again, you saw it laying on the ground before I installed it. I didn't want to push through all that, you know, bolt here. And I do have one other thing that I did. I was concerned that anything longer than the width of this cage here, you know, from side to side, would be perhaps hitting a barrel here or hitting a stock here. The couple that I tried fit, but we'll see. And if that's the case, I'm going to grab my longest, probably a shotgun, and see if that's an issue, because this sits a little bit below that right there. You know, as long as your width is okay in between. On mine, this bolt to bolt, I believe is 17.5 inches, and I don't know off the top of my head what that is. However, what I did is I made these little brackets. I don't know if you can see that. It's basically a C shape, and I drilled a couple of holes in there. This hole, one hole has threads in it, or, you know, from the machine screw, threaded it, and the other hole is clearance hole, and I would just take this bolt out, put that in between there as a spacer, bring that out, bolt that on there, and then that to the roll cage, and then you're plenty far out, and this is 2 inches extra. So again, it's, you know, this is just an idea of something that I did, and I'm sure you can modify it to your needs. If you have these materials laying around, you can do this for really cheap, and if you're a welder, of course, you can do this really cheap. I had most of the stuff laying around. I had a guy up the street pop a couple of beads on there, weld it for me, and then I primed it, painted it, again with stuff I had left over laying around. I did pick up this dishwasher hose from one of the thrift stores in town here. It was a whole brand new package for like $3. You know, if you go to Home Depot or something, I think they're about $11 or $14. But and again, you don't have to use that. You could probably take a piece of garden hose. There's, you know, be creative and do whatever works for you. This is just to hopefully inspire some ideas. I'm really happy with how it turned out. You know, because obviously with the rack mounts that you typically mount on the front of a four-wheeler, I don't want to do that on the hood of this thing. And then I didn't want to span my bed here, because then you have, let me show you. If you span the bed, you know, from side to side, then you've now lost a lot of that cargo space. With this up here, I can still put my spare tire in there. Actually, I could mount it up here, but I could, if I wanted, I can put it in there. Cooler, all these things, you know. So, in fact, I had a cooler in there to measure to see how high to go with these to make sure there was clearance, and it worked out. Anyways, I hope this satisfied some curiosities or interests, or gave you some ideas. Feel free to copy it to a T if you like. I wouldn't be offended. If you have suggestions or tips or other things that you'd like to throw in the comments for other people, you know, if you've done something similar to this, or something that you think would be easier to do, or any suggestions of things, always open to it. I have no issues with that. I'm not offended by that. It's to share with people ideas and inspire some ideas of their own, hopefully. So anyways, lots more stuff to come. I don't know if you saw, I have a few playlists of other things working on Polaris and wildlife in Alaska, and some wildlife in Arizona, and some things I've done with a Flex Seal on a backpack, which turned out kind of cool. I'm still happy with that. And if you like it, and feel free, please, to make comments, and of course, subscribe. Thanks.